The project that you are going to record in my lesson is going to be ecosystem game project. Let's play for learning. It's a project that we do it through game-based learning. Students become scientists and biologists. So the Ministry of Environment, more or less, and climate change, send them some messages along the project. So they have to create some products to answer for that missions. It was like a board game in where they have 6 missions, and they were investigating about the contents that our national curriculum says they have to work on. They have to work on what's an ecosystem, the relationships in the ecosystems, food chains, food web, the 5R. So we work all these kind of concepts through the different missions of the project. So they are playing, and there is like a ranking, and they have to answer some questions at the end, and they will have a game-based exam also. So this is what we were working on this project. In this lesson, what you are going to record is like 3 assessment activities. Okay, you are going to have a look about self-assessment, how a student look about the final project they have created, the final product of the project, sorry, and they have a look to all of them, and with a rubric we have provided them at the beginning of the project. They are going to assess what they have learned. So for self-assessment, we used to have this kind of paper, a worksheet. Okay, students have the points they have to assess themselves and the different levels that they will contrast with the rubric. Okay, so they will say to me how many, which are the points they want to have or they decided to have, and in the back part they give it to me the reasons. Okay, this is one of the tools we have, and also they have a learning diary. Okay, every day when they finish the lesson of the project, they have to write down into their computers in a document what they have done during this day, what they have learned, and what are the problems they have, and maybe if they propose any kind of solutions for that. Okay, so that way in the afternoon I can read this, and next day for the lesson I will start from this kind of questions that they can have problems and solve them. It's an easy way to know how are all the students when you are working in groups. Sometimes it's very difficult to check all of them. In this way, every day I have the same process. Also, they are going to have peer assessment activity. It's like a paper, like a contract. They start discussing in the team. They have been working during more or less 1 month, how they have worked. In this paper, they don't assess the contents or things like this. They assess the team work, how they have been working, how they, the different members of the group have participated on the final product, and this kind of tools. At the end, they have to sign this paper and give it to me, and this is also a part of the final mark. The last part of the lesson will be a test, but it's not going to be like a normal test. It's a game-based test using the tool Kahoot. So they are going to answer the questions through their computers like a game in the whole class. Yeah, what we used to do after this lesson is when I have take all the data from the self-assessment, peer assessment, and my assessment, teacher's assessment, I will try to comment with them how to improve for the next project, for the next product they have to create it. Talking about challenges, the problem or the biggest problems I can have in these kind of lessons is when they have to do peers assessment, they need to get an agreement. They cannot give it to me, that paper, without singing. So this is the biggest problem I can have. They didn't get the agreement. It's in that moment, because usually I don't go into their discussions when they are doing peer assessment. I only just listen and let them to do everything, and I just have a look to the reasons later when I have to do my final marks. But if they don't get the agreement, is when I have to sit down with them and talk with them and just make them to reflect, because maybe you are not listening your partner correctly and you're not thinking about what your partner is saying to you. Your partner is saying, you haven't done this. Please, can you open your notebook and check if you have done, yes or no? Yes, make them to reflect and to get to a point.